after you have the name, think of a logo or a rough cut for a logo. Basically, it should have these 4 points. Be easy to read. Have the name of the podcast. Duh. Like, see Cube Recording Studios? It's easy to read, even when it's small. Has the name front and center. Has a single focal image related to the topic. The record, the keyboard, and the microphone. In a box, in a cube. Very clever. Who designed that for you?
That would be my ex-girlfriend.
Amazing.
Yeah, she did a great job on that one.
She did do a great job. And then finally, 4, have it be a colored background, right? So black and white, good color scheme. Important things to remember. Use multiple colors. So like, Christian, if I was going to critique yours, I don't know what I would do, because I would probably, I would probably make... I'd make the box a different color. And here's why. If you're ever going to redesign a logo, you want 1 to 2 primary colors, so black and white, but you also want 2 or 3 secondary colors. And because those are the colors you were going to...
I feel like the Cube Recording Studios could have been in red. Could have been in blue.
Yeah.
But
you got to make it something with the black. So maybe like a yellow, like a bright yellow, or teal.
Or, cardboard colored.
Yeah, cardboard
because it's kind of like, musical items in a
cardboard box.
In a cardboard box.
Yeah, and written in red.
Yeah, maybe.
That would have worked.
And
the point is, right,
I was going for something simple, but
it is simple. But you take those colors, the black, the white. Let's use your example. The black, the white, the red, and the brown. And all of those are going to be used for your graphics package. So, as you can see here, Talking with Tarashuk logos. I'm also going to put the Talking with Tarashuk logo up here. Yep, there it is. You can see the orange. You can see the blue on the glasses. You can see the tan on the skin. You can see a little streak for the gray, the brown for the hair, the blue on the width. All of those are used in my lower thirds. It's the same color. Different colors, whether it's the orange and the white. The font is usually that teal blue. And my animations are usually a combo of the orange or the tan. Right? Also, the fonts. Make sure you know what the font is. So, Chris, I hope you know what the font is for the Cube and the Recording Studios. You want to make sure those fonts are saved on your computer. Because look at this lower third again. The fonts is the same font as my logo. And I use this for like my call to actions. So when I do like my subscribe on YouTube or follow on Instagram or like us on Facebook. I don't think I made a Facebook one, actually. I probably should do that. I use the color scheme for that logo. So like, here's the YouTube red. I use the red and white. And the font on this lower third is called Playfair Display, because that is the font I used in my logo. And that is going to be used across everything. All of my lower thirds. All of my graphics. Like on Talking with Tarashuk, the banner lower third. You can see that right here, right across the bottom. Look at that question. The font, Playfair Display. The orange, it's a gradient. Same orange as my logo. Right? So think about logos as branding. Also, if you're designing a website, same thing. Use that color scheme for the background, the font color, the font, the color, the font of your heading and paragraphs. It will be uniform across everything to make your podcast look that much better to your audience, yourself, advertisers, and literally anyone in between. So I'm going to show you what my webpage looks like for Talking with Tarashuk. Let's take a look at how that looks, and I'll break it all down for you as we go through it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is Will Tarashuk. I am the founder of Ambiguous Podcast Solutions, and I am showing you my webpage for my podcast, the Talking with Tarashuk podcast. I'm going to break you down why exactly I did this, how I did it, the color scheme, and how it impacts everything I do with branding and my logo. So let's start at the top. This really is my logo right here. It's my face. It is a vector image of me. See, here I am right here. How cute I am. With my gray streak, all natural, I swear. The font, the color scheme If you notice throughout this page, the color scheme and the fonts are the exact same as what I use in my logo. There are a few exceptions with this color. It's close to the tan in the hair. This orange is the same as this orange on the top, and this pink is similar, if not the same, as the tan on my face. But the button here is the same color as my glasses. The font here is the same color as the button, which is also the same color of my glasses, which is also the same font as the lettering, which is Play Fair Display. A mixed bag, but a podcast, also the same font. Different types of podcasts I have, same font, same color. We used black because black, I think this is black, not the same color as my hair. I could be wrong, but for the most part, the color scheme is the same. Playfair Display, the orange is the same. Moxie Ann, Jill Malandrino, Alan Schoenberg, their titles, same font, different color. Obviously, this is their actual headshots. You can listen to these podcasts right here if you click it. My buddy Chris Scally, my fan Mr. Fretz, and my first guest ever, Phil Riccobono. The listen is the same font. Same down here. My bio, same font, the blue, same color as one of my glasses. You know, this is just one of my headshots. Not headshot, one of my photos from LinkedIn. So yeah, if you look at this webpage, the color scheme, the branding completely fits my logo. So when you're making your logo, keep that in mind for when you design your webpage. You want the same colors of your logo to fit your webpage. So let's go with structure and why I did it like this. So obviously, my banner, an image of me, and I believe it's called a tagline, a mixed bag, but a podcast. So Talking with Tarashuk podcast it's a mixed bag. It's whatever I say it is. It's whatever I want to be. It's different every single week at times. So it's 3 different structures, which pretty much anything goes. Sometimes I have guests, and these guests can be a stranger, like Moxie Ann, a good friend and a colleague, as in Jill Malandrino, and my former boss, or my boss's boss, actually formerly Jill's boss, Alan Schoenberg. It could also be one of the fans of my podcast, Mr. Fretz, real name James, was one of my first fans on my wrestling podcast, the King's Rings podcast. Also, his Fretzmania podcast was started in inspiration by our podcast, the King's Rings podcast. I can't take all the credit. I had 2 amazing co-hosts with me. Also, a guest is my good friend Chris Scally, who is a co-founder of the Seething Agency with his wife Carly. And other podcasts are with my friends and family. Like this particular podcast was a podcast with my cousin Michael, where we talk about our family history and a lot of fun stuff going on there. And the third type of podcast is Anything Goes, which is the unknown, unnamed nonsense edition of the podcast, where I have a giant random list of questions, and me and my co-host and my guest have fun answering them. It's ridiculous, it's serious, or it's silly. But these are my 3 types of podcasts. So I put these here to demonstrate the 3 different types of podcasts I have on this one channel. And the answer is yes. Each of these, archetypes or columns or verticals is what I'm looking for, is also going to be an individual RSS feed and an individual podcast under the Talking with Tarashuk brand. I feature my guests, again, a little bit of variety. Moxie Ann is a singer. Jill Malandrino is a global market supporter and also my boss as of recording this. Alan is a chief communications officer in corporate America. I did not use his company at his request because our podcast was very not much about the company he works for. So out of respect for my guest, I did that. You have to do that one day too. And then my friends, and then Phil, who actually Chris introduced me to Phil, who at the time was an MLB scout living in Japan, and my first guest on Talking with Tarashuk podcast. So that was really cool. And then I have my bio. Here's who I am. I podcast for personal growth. That's a quote from me. It's something that's true to this day. You know, here's my bio, a little bit about me, my favorite episode. You have to click it and find out. Shout out to K Murphy. And then here's your RSS feed. Here's where you can listen to it. Now, you might be asking yourself, why didn't I put the actual episodes so I can listen to front and center? Now, the reason for that is because you're going to scroll and kind of be convinced, like, okay, I listened to this, and then bam, there it is. And then you can follow along like always. So that's the page. Main point of this clip is the color scheme in the structure of the webpage. I'm killing two birds with one stone here. But we're going to go back to the podcast. We're almost done. We got about 15, 20 minutes left in the podcast. Thank you so much for bearing with me. And make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that fun nonsense. You're listening to the clip, listen to the full podcast, or you can listen to it, the audio version, on your way to work. Thank you all. Love you very much. Let's get back to the podcast. Not now, but right now. I am very proud of that webpage. Shout out to my girlfriend who helped me design it. So that was awesome. Also the logo. She designed the Talk with Tarashuk logo. Now, unless you're skilled at designing logos, which clearly I am not, I have a professional create one for you. You can do it pretty cheap. Someone over here at APS can do it. Or if you know how to do it, do it. You can go on Canva, figure something out, play around a little bit. But keep it simple. Keep it sweet. Remember your color codes. Remember your font files. And use that across everything and anything. But your logo needs to be a certain size. So 3 very important things, because your RSS feed, as we covered last episode, if you know refresh what RSS feeds are, gets read through iTunes, and iTunes is pretty much a default flag bearer for the specs for an RSS feed, including the image. So iTunes has the specifications as it needs to be a JPEG, a JPG, I think is a JPEG. Chris, what's between a JPEG and JPG?
The same exact thing.
Same exact thing. So it needs to be a JPEG file or a PNG file. It needs to be between 1,500 and 1,500 pixels. That's a perfect square. And 3,000 and 3,000 pixels. So either way, it needs to be a perfect square. So if it's 2,000 by 2,000, that's fine. If it's 1,500 by 1,500, that's fine. If it's 31 by 31, that's not fine. iTunes won't read it.
I'd urge for PNGs simply because they're a lossless file format.
What does that mean?
That means if you increase it in size, if it's manipulated later, if it's increased in size or made smaller, it will not lose its quality.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. That's not the same case for JPEGs or JPGs.
Okay. It also needs to be under 500 gigabytes in size. That's the KB.
Kilobytes.
Kilobytes. I say gigabytes? That's not a real word.
Yeah.
KB. And that's what? Like
1,000 kilobytes in a megabyte.
Right. So it's like less. It's like what, 5% of a gigabyte?
Did you say 5 KB?
Yeah.
Or no, 500, under 500.
Under 500.
Yeah, it's half or less.
Half or less. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And PNGs typically are bigger, but a 3,000 by 3,000 shouldn't be over than 500 KBs.
No. I mean, it depends, but yeah.
Yeah. I would go for 3,000 by 3,000 because it's more pixels. It just looks better. But it really doesn't matter. As long as your logo fits those parameters, iTunes will accept it. Now, if it's a good logo, iTunes won't tell you if your logo sucks. So keep that in mind. Imagine if it did.
Your logo is being rejected from the platform.
Yeah, your logo is rejected because it's just bad. Maybe they have guidelines for like profanity, stuff like that. Honestly, I'm not sure. But, if your podcast is just like an inappropriate body part, okay, fine. Good luck.